There has been mixed reactions to the announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa for the full implementation of the BELA Act. It includes the highly contested sections 4 and 5 of the Act, which deal with languages and admissions into schools. Ramaphosa signed the bill into law in September, but delayed its full implementation by 3 months to allow for discussions on the contested sections. Ramaphosa has since instructed the Basic Education Minister to enable its full implementation. So for reaction, we're joined virtually by the Chief Executive of Afrika Tikkun Bambanani, Theresa Michael. Theresa, good morning. Thank you for your time here on the SABC at this hour.
Good morning, Liesl. Thank you for having me on your show.
So President Cyril Ramaphosa, as we know, has now officially signed all sections of the Basic Education Laws Amendment or BELA Act into law, of course, following that 3-month consultation period. Let's get your reaction at this point.
That is very good news for us, Liesl. Children's rights are paramount. So this is all about children. Education's all about children, not about adults, not about unions, not about anything else that leads to this. Is all about children. Children, at such a young age, they have to learn in their mother tongue. You cannot take a child whose mother tongue has a specific mother tongue for a whole number of years and then comes into a school and is forced to learn in a different language. There are huge benefits with bilingualism, which we all understand and we all accept, and it is a study throughout the world, that it is very important for children and very beneficial for children to learn a number of languages. However, children should learn in their mother tongue. If you take countries like Finland, for example, Finland is the leaders, they are among the leaders in education. Finland, Japan, France, Germany, children learn in their mother tongue. Then a second language is introduced to them, which is usually English, because English is a universal language. And there are huge advantages for people to speak other language, specifically English. But children are taught in their mother tongue. Cognitively, this benefits them because this is the language they understand. This is the language where the terminology is understood, and this is where they learn better.
And so, Theresa, obviously addressing the inequities of the past, perhaps also beyond the power struggles or, the need to gaining constituencies as well. We saw that the president did so despite early attempts by the Democratic Alliance and even trade union solidarity to prevent the implementation of the 2 contentious clauses of the Act. From your vantage point, what could have changed the DA's stance on this matter?
Well, I think it's all about equality. It's about bridging gaps. It's about equal education. And it's about ensuring that all children in South Africa receive equal education. And I think at the end of the day, this is the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is we are all in agreement with the fact that children it is compulsory for children to go to school in grade R when they are 5 years old. Yes. We are all in agreement for many aspects of the Act. And all of this brings us to believe and to understand the rights of children. And I think at the end of the day, this is what will swing everybody to realize that this is what benefits children. The benefits of learning in their own language, the benefits of government having control over government schools who have been, who now over the years are just doing their own thing. They are not following the Constitution. They are not following the laws of education. And now everything has to be centralized.
So, Theresa, let's get into that. I mean, in a statement by Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube, she confirmed that her department will implement the Act. What are the implications then for children across the country? There's aspects of homeschooling, grade R now officially being the compulsory starting age. Walk us through and break that down for us.
Okay, so this is not going to happen overnight. We do understand and we do realize that over 40%, we are in ECD, so over 40% of ECD centres are in rural areas. And I understand that that is similar for other schools. So there are resources to worry about. There is manpower to consider. So this is something that's not just going to happen in one day. This is something that's going to take planning. The government have to make sure that everything is in place, that resources are in place. You can't just suddenly change overnight, the wheels will come off. And I do understand that they will have all of this in place before they start implementing. It's not going to just happen because there are schools that are running it, the rules of governance according to the way that they always have, and this needs to be changed. So there is, our president has, I'm sure, taken all of this into consideration. Parents have to be on board. Parents need to understand the importance of education. Parents need to understand the importance of grade R, because one of the highest failure rates in South Africa is at the end of grade 1. And why is that? Because there isn't a foundation in grade R, and then the wheels come off. And then why do we have stats in South Africa when a child gets to 10 that more than 81% of children cannot read for meaning? It's because the foundation is missing. There is no grounding for these children to be able to build the building blocks to get to stats where more children are able to read. And then everything about language, everything about education revolves around the language of choice. Even when a child is doing mathematics, they will not understand the concepts if they do not have the comprehension to understand. If it is not in their mother tongue and it is in a foreign language for them to learn, how do we expect them to perform in numeracy? That is why we have one of the lowest numeracy rates in the world. So,
yes, and Theresa,
everything around the BELA.
I mean, this was even reflected in the TIMS report study that was released for 2023, indicating the numeracy and literacy levels as well, and perhaps also looking at how to mitigate against that due to the various structural challenges. I wonder if we're also going to take cultural sensitivity, as a factor. Perhaps you could also talk us through the narratives being peddled in the public about the language policy clause being detrimental to Afrikaans. Just dispel some of those, inaccurate information, but also the impact at large.
Well, I think there is a lot of inaccurate information out there. The president is not saying that you cannot learn in Afrikaans, that you cannot learn in Zulu, that you cannot learn in isiXhosa. He is saying that a child will learn in their mother tongue, provided that that school adheres to all the policies and that school applies to government and informs government of the language of the choice of that school. And if that is passed, because it is in an area where there is a demand for that language, then that will be allowed. It is not that you only have to learn in a specific language. It is that children will be learning in their mother tongue. The school can do that, provided that they then follow all the laws of governance around the BELA bill.
What about teachers being trained to adequately adapt to this as well? Perhaps even with the integration of, AI, perhaps also looking at the fourth industrial revolution and how, various systems are integrated with traditional classroom method learning. Talk to us a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so this is going to be difficult for teachers.
Yeah.
It's we can't just assume that all teachers can speak all languages and just start teaching in the language that is required. So this is going to be difficult. Training has to take place. AI, there is a place for AI in schooling, but only a place. It cannot take over. It cannot take over education. So in ECD, we work in ECD areas. And what is difficult for teachers is that all teacher training is done in English. So even if teachers aren't fluent in the language, they are trained in English, and the terminology is in English. So everything about their training and their understanding of the curriculum is in English. Now they have to go into the classroom and they have to code switch and translate into the language of the child. And often that does become a problem because there are terms in maths or in science or in a variety of subjects that are quite difficult to translate. So there are going to be difficulties along the way, but at the end of the day, the child will be learning mostly in their language, but English will be introduced as well. There are, there is a place, there are English terms that a child will have to also understand and learn at the same time. And what we do in our rural areas is teachers are trained in the language of their choice, but we always implement English as well because English is the language that they were taught in. English is the language that they studied in. Those are the terms that they understand. And we then help them to translate this into the classroom. And for ECD with us, AI has a place, technology has a place, but overexposing children to technology has huge disadvantages. So we want to expose them just enough so that they are in line with the trends, in line with AT trends, but never to overexpose them. So, for example, we have an app that we use with our children, but it is only 30 minutes twice a week. And that enhances language, where we do have a lot of English terms. There are English stories, but then again, it's quite visual. So when a child understands what's there visually, but they are now also introduced to English.
Theresa, it's going to be interesting to see how government balances the need for standardization and also implementation with, the need to preserve cultural and linguistic diversity at large. Let's leave that conversation there. Obviously, more questions coming through, but the conversation does continue from here and too as that act gets rolled out. Theresa Michael this morning, Chief Executive of Afrika Tikkun Bambanani, speaking to us about President Cyril Ramaphosa having fully implemented the Basic Education Laws Amendment or the BELA Act, weighing in on some of these significant milestones in relation to transformation within that sector at large.